Adam Smith, one of the great heroes of the stateless capitalist movement. To them, he is the grandfather of the idea that markets magically create equality like some kind of prayer to Jesus. Often he is quoted with having created the vision of a world of perfect capitalist competition, where free and voluntary exchange creates a perfect world and market forces have ended racism, sexism, poverty, and inequality. Unfortunately, in real life, perfect doesn't exist, just like all their claims about markets, and just like what they say about what Adam Smith wrote. Karl Marx is the most deliberately misconstrued economist by his enemies. Adam Smith is the most deliberately misconstrued economist by his own supporters. Well, who was Adam Smith? What economic policy did he follow? Well, Adam Smith was what they call a classical liberal. From reading him, I've seen that his fundamental principles were that people should be free. There should be no authoritarian institutions. He believed that there should be no division of labor, which he believed, correctly, destroys people. Now, Smith is looked at as the big man behind the justification for markets. No matter what inequality they create or how many millions of people die from hunger a year because of them. But why was Adam Smith in favor of markets? He was in favor of markets because he thought people should be completely equal. And I'm talking completely equal. This was because he was a classical liberal, a person who believed that people had aspects like sympathy and solidarity, the right to control their own work, and more stuff like that. All of this is the complete opposite of capitalism. The division of labor is what makes capitalism what it is. The ideas of classical liberalism and capitalism couldn't be any more different. This is why the University of Chicago had to lie about what Adam Smith actually wrote. The University of Chicago printed the bicentennial edition of The Wealth of Nations, a scholarly edition. It is really interesting how the introduction to the book, written by George Stigler, was written in complete opposite to what he wrote about the division of labor. The introduction, like stateless capitalists, claimed that Adam Smith thought the division of labor was an awesome thing. Well, that's not what he said at all. He said that in a civilized society, the government would have to interfere in order to keep the division of labor from completely destroying people. After that, go look at the University of Chicago's index under division of labor. You won't find an entry for that passage. It's simply not there. Adam Smith did not support the division of labor. That is how easy it is to lie to the public. That is how easy it is to get a stateless capitalist to believe in their ideology. That is just the real work of the ruling class. Just lie about what was said and suppress anything that would expose you or prove you wrong. The people who quote Adam Smith don't read the book, The Wealth of Nations. What they do is read the overview or the introduction and then just assume that they know. The Mises Institute is no different. They do the exact same thing. You just absolutely lie about what Adam Smith wrote. Write up a bunch of introductions like George Stigler and call it an analysis. This is the failing of the stateless capitalists. They don't read anything. They read about things. They don't do any analysis. They just read what the Mises blog says and take that as fact. They don't analyze events. They just let the Mises so-called institute tell them what their opinion is. It's very obvious this isn't just them. Bourgeois economists, real-life ones, are almost as bad. So, of course they have to distort Adam Smith's text, because as a true classical liberal, Smith was strongly opposed to all of the idiocy they now spout in his name. Now, this takes me back to what I said about stateless capitalism being like a religion in previous video. Like Christianity or Islam or Judaism, you have a long book that can be complicated for some people to read, so they get a holy man or a so-called intellectual to interpret the text for them. This way, they never actually read the text and try to interpret it themselves. Read The Wealth of Nations. Adam Smith was not the free market man they claim he was, and in fact, in many ways, he was very much an anti-capitalist.